Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Hello, Winnipeg Jets fans. Welcome back to the show. My name is Brady. Welcome back to Game Over Winnipeg. I will be your host today. On a 4-1 win by the Winnipeg Jets in the back-to-back against the New York Hockey Rangers. What a game. All I have to say is Connor Hellebuyck. Wow, what a game. Oh my goodness. 51 shots against, 50 saves. The absolute backbone of the Winnipeg Jets franchise. This team would be nothing without him. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about the new lines. Obviously, some things were shaken up here. We'll talk a little bit about the Rangers probably, I'm sure, but this will mostly be Jets focused. But before we get into all that, want to bet? Then get in on the interaction. We're going to restart that. Sorry, guys. Want to bet? Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction. The boys of summer are back in the diamond, and March Madness is on deck. Bet pregame, live, and player on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN, or in Ontario, download the app right now using the QR code at the bottom of the screen. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Alrighty, guys, let's dive in. A game the Jets played where I honestly thought they started off pretty good. I thought the start was not too bad. I think before we jump into everything, I wanted to give a good segment on Connor Hellebuyck, but I feel like let's at least give the context coming into this game. Obviously, the Jets having played last night in New Jersey, they give up 3 goals in the third period and unfortunately lose that one 4-2. Not a lot of time to dwell on what went wrong yesterday. If you watch the show, I think the biggest things that were an issue last night, excuse me. I'm sure if you watched the show last night, you already know exactly what went wrong yesterday. But the biggest thing tonight was I was hoping to see a bit more action from the top players. Notably, Pierre-Luc Dubois was one of the players who I was looking to see. Hopefully, he'd have a bounce back game. And early on, you kind of all saw the pregame interview he had with Sean Reynolds, where Sean Reynolds basically asked him, what he thinks of his game recently, and he was, first one to criticize and say, I haven't been doing that great recently, but I know what I can do and get out there. And one of the biggest things that I think the Jets need is for him to be the best player that he can be, or else, we're already going in circles here, and it's not even worth our time talking about the trade deadline and this and that. If Pierre-Luc Dubois can't be one of the best players on the ice, then that is going to be frustrating. So I was very glad to see that early on he played well. We had a bit of a shakeup to the lines. We still had Mark Scheifele playing with Mason Appleton, but now the big change, Kyle Connor, excuse me. I'm all twisted around here tonight, guys. Sorry. Kyle Connor moved away from Pierre-Luc Dubois. As I said yesterday, those two guys haven't been playing well together recently. So it was a good thing to see Rick Bowness decided to switch it up, move him up there, obviously with the absence of Cole Perfetti, who got injured, unfortunately, in last night's tilt. Won't be there to be the duo to Mark Scheifele. So moving Connor back up there makes a lot of sense, especially considering that Connor and Dubois haven't been creating a lot recently. On the second line, obviously, you've got Nick Ehlers is back in the lineup. Thank God. We had a scary little thing happen near the end of the game yesterday where he went down and went for the tunnel, didn't return to the game. Luckily, he was back tonight. He was playing with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Blake Wheeler. Morgan Barron is on the third line with Adam Lowry and Sam Gagner, who draws in for Cole Perfetti, and then Saku Manalainen. Thank you, Rick Bowness, has been demoted back down to the fourth line, playing with Stenlund and Kuhlman. It is what it is. We'll talk about the bottom six because I think they were the biggest issue tonight. But we'll dive into all of that, of course. But before we do all that, Connor Hellebuyck. This man has been the backbone of this franchise, dating back to 2018, 29, definitely 2019, when all the defensemen had to leave, or not had to leave, but all the defensemen started to slowly leave this team. Connor Hellebuyck was kind of left to dry in the back end of the Jets zone. And man, time and time again, this guy gives his all. It was great to see a bit of a showcase on his book that he put out. And one of the things that I gleaned from that little interview that he did was that he really pointed out the fact that, not everyone has their best nights, and all you gotta do is to, pick up the slack where it's left by others. And boy, oh boy, did he do that tonight. 51 shots against, 50 saves. An incredible win for Connor Hellebuyck. He should get both leather jackets that they give out after the game. He should get both of them because I think that he, it's not even worth having the conversation, or there's no debate around it. He is by far the Jets MVP. Every year, he's the most important player. As much as we love to, give Josh Morrissey all these, kudos, say he's the MVP, it's not. Like that argument is over, unfortunately. As much as Josh Morrissey has been absolutely fantastic this year, Connor Hellebuyck, without him, imagine if Dave Riddick was in the crease tonight. I love Big Save Dave. He's been really good for the Jets this year, but there is absolutely no way that the Jets would have walked out of this game a win. And even just past the saves part, I think that Connor Hellebuyck provides so much calmness and such a sense of everything is going to be okay. Not everything is completely in shambles. We're going to be totally fine. So hopefully, sorry. So just he has been phenomenal and made it so that the Jets, despite, a very tough game, felt very calm. They were getting their shit absolutely, they were getting absolutely killed by the Rangers tonight. They are a good team. That is for sure. Sorry, I'm going to slow it down here, guys. I'm going in circles. I'm getting a little flustered. But it was a really good game by Connor Hellebuyck. Fantastic. We can move on from that now. But like I said, with some new lineups, it was really interesting to see, what would happen. I already kind of mentioned the Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor thing regarding how they kind of haven't been playing well together. So it was very good to see that they got split up. And early on, Pierre-Luc Dubois was an absolute beast. There's a lot of goals here that he created himself. I think it was the third goal, was all completely created from the Jets' own end under their goal line. He picks the puck up and just brings it out, gets around a couple guys, shakes off a couple hits, brings it into the zone, and that's how it creates where Mason Appleton's able to get the puck off of a broken play by the Rangers, passes it over to Kyle Connor, and that was just a beautiful shot by him. Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele had a fantastic evening tonight, although I might get into some frustrations I had with Scheifele just regarding his effort in the defensive zone, but regardless, a win's a win, right? So as we go through, first period was pretty good until we get a power play, and now we see a new look power play. Again, yesterday we had the new look power plays where Rick Bowness was hoping to get 1 minute for both units. In my opinion, him switching back to kind of the, loading it all on the top unit most likely has to do with Cole Perfetti being out. I think that he was one of the big reasons that he wanted to bring some guys down to the second unit so that he can put Cole Perfetti up with, Mark Scheifele, with Blake Wheeler, and it was Nate Schmidt and Morrissey, I believe. But now we get the traditional look of, Nick Ehlers with Josh Morrissey, with Mark Scheifele, with Pierre-Luc Dubois, with Kyle Connor. And what happens early on? A beautiful, beautiful play. Pierre-Luc Dubois wins a face-off, or at least it gets kind of tied up. Mark Scheifele is good at getting in there, make sure he gets the puck, passes it back to Josh Morrissey. He hands it off to Nikolai Ehlers, kind of fakes a shot, passes it back to Morrissey, who rips an absolute blast. It ends up going in off of Pierre-Luc Dubois, so it is Pierre-Luc Dubois' goal. But everybody, say it with me, Josh Morrissey is now the franchise leader in points by a defenseman in only 57 games. 57 points in 57 games. The previous holder of that title was Dustin Byfuglien. He did so in 76 games, having 56 points. Again, just a phenomenal season by Morrissey. I don't feel like I need to really recap it or anything like that, but just an incredible bounce back he's had, especially under Rick Bowness. It's been fantastic to see him playing with a little more pep in his step, playing a less shutdown role, and actually, moving with the puck, playing a bit more like a rover. But I digress. Either way, it was fantastic to see from Morrissey. Really happy for him. And he's been phenomenal all year. But again, the first period keeps on going, and we end up finishing the first period with 20 shots for the New York Hockey Rangers over the Winnipeg Jets, who had only 9. And this is where things start to get a little dicey. But like I said, Connor Hellebuyck, the entire time, all game, is just sitting back there. He's having fun. He's super calm. It seems like he's not even trying. Like, it doesn't make sense how good this guy is. But yeah, the Jets kept going. They ended up scoring again scoring again in the first period. This is when I believe Mark Scheifele finishes off kind of a shorthanded chance that they had. I've ragged on Neil Pionk a lot on this show. I will give him credit though. Last game against the Devils, I don't think I got to really give him a shout just because we were talking about that entire game and it didn't really fit in. But he played a good game yesterday and he followed it up with another one tonight, I would say. Again, this goal starts off of him. He notices a puck in open space. He kind of pounces on it, even though the Jets are on the PK. Makes a nice little pass out to Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor kind of, comes in, fakes the shot, has a little bit of patience, waits for the lane to open up, rips a shot on, and, Mark Scheifele just taps it home. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Good for them. That line tonight was buzzing. Again, we'll talk about the defensive, issues in a moment here, but I'm really starting to I actually am starting to like Mason Appleton in that top 6. You can only play with the guys that you got. Of course, I would much rather have a different player who's able to come up into the top 6 and play, but Mason Appleton is just kind of fitting that perfect, third complementary guy on that top line. And I think he did a lot. Like even last game, he was fantastic. The 2 goals that the Jets did score, one of them was he didn't really get an assist on it or anything like that, but he had the screen in front on Pionk's goal last night. And tonight, again, same thing. He's just in the corners fighting battles. And I think it's really good for the Jets to be able to find a guy who's kind of complimentary, who isn't obviously a top 6 player, who can play up there. Make it so that you can push some guys down in the lineup. And then, in a game like tonight where Cole Perfetti is out, who can jump up in the lineup and fill in while the time is needed. But yeah, if this were a fully healthy team, if Cole Perfetti were in the lineup here, I think I would probably still roll with that Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Mason Appleton line. And I would probably try something along the lines of Pierre-Luc Dubois, Cole Perfetti, and Nick Ehlers, which then kind of gives you the opportunity to, push Blake Wheeler down in the lineup, who, has had a couple, not great games. I think defensively he's been pretty tough recently. There was one goal yesterday where he kind of got caught in no man's land, and just in general, he's always he just seems like he's a little bit behind sometimes stepwise. So it is good to see that, even though tonight he was playing in the top 6 and he has been playing in the top 6 a lot, it was good to see last night that Rick Bowness is willing to try him in the bottom 6, because I think the optimal lineup for the Jets is going to be one where Blake Wheeler is not in the top 6. And that's just the reality, unfortunately, is he's not the player that he used to be. But yeah, great. I would say this first period was good in the sense of the Jets were able to create a decent amount of chances. I mean, they only got 9 shots, but I thought that the quality was pretty good. But again, the issue, you can't be allowing 20 shots. You just can't. That's just not going to be okay, especially considering, this is a bit of a test game, the game against the Devils, the Rangers tonight, both 2 really good teams, both 2 teams that are going to be fighting in the playoffs. if the Jets get lucky enough and play hard enough to ever, get to the Stanley Cup final. This is a team. The Rangers are definitely one of the teams that are certainly one of the favorites, I would say, in the East. They've got a fantastic team, and with the addition of Vladimir Tarasenko, they're only getting better, and they're only developing more chemistry by the day, and that offensive skill was on display tonight. The Jets couldn't really handle the opposing team, unfortunately. The biggest thing that I found, if you look at the expected goal metrics, the Connor Scheifele Appleton line really was the only line with a positive expected goals share. I thought that they did well, but at the same time, there were some defensive lapses that Scheifele had that weren't great. Obviously, there was the one on the goal that they scored in the second period where, it's all started off by a very rough, kind of blind man stick poke check. Scheifele tries to poke Adam Fox with the puck, doesn't try to get anybody, and it wasn't that like he wasn't in the position to try and get somebody. If Scheifele really wanted to, he could have absolutely stood Adam Fox up there, or at least, gotten his way, but he goes for the poke check, doesn't really work, leads to a bit of a defensive breakdown where at some point, Mark Scheifele gets the puck kind of beside the net. It gets poked off him by Vinny Trocheck, goes to the other side of the net, and Logan Stanley is in front, and Josh Morrissey is behind the net. They both try to go to the puck carrier along with Mark Scheifele. So 3 guys on 1. I think that means that someone is open in front, and Vinny Trocheck puts it home. The one goal that got past Connor Hellebuyck tonight, and that's one where you look at Helly and you go, what can you do, man? Like, don't worry about it. And I don't think he did, because it didn't seem to affect him at all. It was again, like I said, just an incredible game by Connor Hellebuyck. I can't not say that over and over and over again. All in all, this was a game that the Jets really needed to win. As we're sitting here now, the standings for the Jets in the West, this win was very much needed because Colorado is right behind them in the standings. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring it up here. I thought I had the standings up here. Give me a moment. But yeah, so the Colorado Avalanche are now 2 games behind the Winnipeg Jets, and they also sit 4 points behind them, I believe. That is correct. The Jets now have 57 games played and 71 points in those 57 games. They're 1 point behind the Dallas Stars. And like I said, Colorado is right in the rearview mirror. The objects may appear closer than they are, or objects may appear closer. I don't know how the saying goes. I'm sorry, but they are closer than you think. Like I said, they're 4 points back. If they win every single, the 2 games that they are behind, they're tied with the Jets. And then it goes into the to figure out who is above. But regardless, the Jets need to push. Right now is the time where they cannot be dropping games, and this is again why it was so frustrating losing to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like, that's a game you have to win. And then, going to yesterday's game against the Devils, you have to win that game because you lost the Columbus game. The Columbus game should be 3 points. You gotta win here. The West has been completely wide open. Dallas hasn't been playing great as of recent. The Avalanche, like I said, are getting better and better. Gabe Landeskog is coming back from injury shortly. So right now, as we look at it, the Colorado Avalanche could potentially be, could be fighting for the top of the division as well as the Stars are. Regardless, the Jets really, really want to be top of the Central. You don't want to be second place playing the Avalanche or third place playing the Avalanche, the reigning Stanley Cup champions. I don't think I have to explain that to you. They are a fantastic team, and they are much better than their record has shown all year. They've dealt with a ton of injuries. Every team does, but come playoff time, it's just about one series, and they have a lot of really good players. So the Jets really need to push right now, and this kind of leads again, as we talk about the trade deadline stuff that looms. I was ready to come on to this today. I was expecting a loss from the Jets. I'll just be honest with you. Second half of a back-to-back, playing against the Rangers, who are very, very good. I was expecting a loss tonight. And I think that probably would have happened had it not been for Connor Hellebuyck. Once again, we need a little Connor Hellebuyck counter in the corner. But yeah, like I said, I was expecting to come into this here saying that the Jets need to do something because there's points on the board right now that aren't being taken by the Stars. You've got guys behind you the Avalanche who are pushing and pushing and pushing for your spot. Like, the Jets could very easily fall back to a wild card spot. Had they not won tonight, again, the Avalanche could easily pass them. And then the Wild are sitting there with 65 points. Like, it's not out of the question that the Wild could be pushing you out of the playoffs as well too, even though they're selling right now, or at least buying, selling cap space, brokering deals for other teams. Obviously the Ryan O'Reilly deal, but regardless, the Jets need to make hay while the sun is up right now. And that kind of leads to trade deadline talk again. And, I don't want to sit here and say the same stuff. But there was some new stuff that came out today regarding Elliot Friedman talking about the Winnipeg Jets and Timo Meier. It could definitely happen. It's definitely a possibility. I'm just pulling up the quote here. He says, Friedman on 32 Thoughts wonders about Winnipeg and Timo Meier, but they didn't like their last foray into rentals with Kevin Hayes. Wheeler has one more year. Dubois situation leaning towards Montreal. Shifley has one more year before UFA. Jets could trade for Meier and rebuild around him. Good by me. I would love to get Timo Meier here. And then, of course, the question is posed at the end. Does Meier want to stay in Winnipeg long term? Because, with the way that the Jets like to work at the deadline, like to make trades, they usually like to do it with a little bit of insurance. And they need to kind of have that assurance that they are able to extend that player. And I think that was one of the reasons that kept them out of the Mark Stone conversation, a couple years ago when Ottawa was trading him and Vegas stepped up to the plate. In my opinion, this is kind of the second version of that, where you have a really fantastic two-way winger, guy who can score. You got to pay for it. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. March 3rd is approaching fast. So it will be a very, very interesting time of year very soon. We should see some more trades happening soon enough. They usually happen before the actual deadline on March 3rd, but we'll see. And on that note, make sure you guys tune into SDPN. There's going to be a lot of coverage regarding trade deadline. I know that the SDP guys are probably going to be doing something for that. I'm not sure if they're doing like a stream or anything like that. I'm not leaking anything. I don't know what's going on. But like I said, stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following us at SDPN Sports. But regardless, it is what it is. I'm going to take a sip here, take a look at chat, and then we're going to hop into the topic of usage. Noah Laforte, again, always one of our MVPs here, always giving us the quotes. Hellebuyck with the post game with Sean Reynolds and says that was a routine night. Oh man, you gotta love Connor Hellebuyck. He's so good. He's so fantastic. And then this leads me into my next topic. His other quote here, Coach Bones postgame says that Sandberg has been playing good, but they didn't want Stanley sitting for too long. Thought the back-to-back was the best time to get Stanley in the lineup. Okay, here's the thing. Dylan Sandberg has been one of the better defensemen on the Winnipeg Jets. It is very odd to see that he's still kind of fighting with Logan Stanley for that spot on the in the kind of sixth spot. You've seen teams like the Wild, for example, who have taken their good defense, or not their good defense, but their highest paying defenseman, notably Matt Dumba, and have sat him down when he hasn't been playing well. And like I said prior, I'm not going to rag on Pionk tonight because I think he's actually had a couple good string of games. But he was a guy who, at least earlier on, we were kind of clamoring for to be sat down a little bit. Again, seems like he's kind of nursing an injury. So I digress. You can argue about the, do you think that, you can't have a guy sitting for too long? Who knows? Maybe this could also be like a bit of a showcase, whether that's to, Winnipeg Jets management saying, Logan, you got to show us a reason why you're here or else you're getting dealt. Or if they've already decided that he's going to be an asset that they're potentially trading away, why don't you go out there, play as good as you can, pump your price up, and that's always good for the Jets too. But I don't think that is the actual case. I don't think that the Jets think, as 4D chess as that. And I certainly don't think that Rick Bowness is the type of coach that would be like, yeah, I'm going to play this guy so that his trade value goes up. I think that this is more or less just a, put him in the lineup kind of thing. I think Rick Bowness usually wants to win. So that's why I don't really see him doing something just because, Kevin Cheveldayoff is reaching down saying, hey, it would be good to get this guy in a game so that other teams can see what he can do. I don't see that being the case. And, I think that the I don't want a guy sitting for too long excuse is real. Like I'm trying to be fair because that is definitely an excuse that we've used for, Ville Heinola coming into the lineup after sitting for a long time and not playing, perfectly or fantastically or anything like that. But at the same time, you look at Kyle Capobianco, who has played how many games this year? Like 4, 5? I'm not even sure. I could probably bring that up, but I don't think it's worth it for the show. But the point is, Kyle Capobianco barely plays, and when he's called upon, he steps into the lineup and plays adequately, as much as you'd expect from a 7th, 8th defenseman. So I don't think that it makes a ton of sense to pull Dylan Sandberg out of the lineup, especially right now, and especially while I'm saying, you got to make hay while you can. You got to win while you can. And get those really important points going into the trade deadline, going into the end of the season. Every game is worth 2 points. You got to win as many as you can. So, despite getting outshot tonight, the Jets walk away with a win. And then my other thing that I wanted to mention was the usage. One of the things I kind of mentioned or kind of forgot to get around to yesterday was talking about Nikolai Ehlers. He's a player who has been kind of shafted in regards to ice time almost his entire career now. He's been kind of stuck at this 14-minute-a-night guy, and the issue always comes around when it's in relation to special teams. The issue is he doesn't play PK, and very frequently his coaches, for some reason, put him onto the second power play unit. I was very glad to see tonight that he got himself a power play assist on the Dubois goal, I guess. So I was going to call it the Morrissey goal, but this is a guy that needs to play more. Like, he is easily one of your best, if not your best, forward on this team. And finding, a fit for him is very important. And I actually I liked him tonight with Pierre-Luc Dubois. Again, their line wasn't great in the expected goals metrics, but again, in a game where you get outshot 50 to 20 or 51 to 20, I'm not expecting your expected goals to be fantastic, but they were definitely above the bottom 6, which kind of got eaten alive by the Rangers' top 6. If you look at the expected goals, Panarin, Trocheck, and Tarasenko. Man, that's a good trio. They were sitting at 81.5% on the expected goals, so they kind of ate the Kuhlman, Stenlund, Menelainen, as well as the Barron, Lowry, and Gagne lines, who had the Barron, Lowry, Gagne line had 2.1% expected goals, meaning they got basically none. They didn't create anything, and they had just over an expected goal against. And the Kuhlman line, the Kuhlman, Stenlund, Menelainen line wasn't much better. Same thing, 14.5%. Didn't create almost anything, and didn't have a whole expected goal against them, but they were certainly not good. But yeah, regardless, looking at the times that the players played tonight, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor played 17 minutes each. Mason Appleton ended up playing 20. That likely is due to the PK being used often. And then, Nikolai Ehlers sitting at 13 minutes and 33 seconds, which is tough. He is easily one of, if not the best forwards on the Jets. I had a little stat here. Right now, Ehlers with minimum 240 minutes at 5v5 has the highest points per 60, meaning if you were to extrapolate how much time he spends on the ice to 60 minutes, he is the highest in the NHL. There is no player that is more efficient at scoring points at 5v5. He is fantastic. Sorry, that is the highest points at 5v5. My bad. Regardless, he needs to play more. I thought that Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor played well tonight, but with the defensive lapses that they had, going into a game where you're trying to shut it down, I thought that, having a guy who can single-handedly get the puck, bring it out, go into the opposing end, and try to get some actual possession time, something that the Jets had barely any of, especially considered to how much the Rangers had. I think that he's a guy who absolutely needs to play more. So, going into the trade deadline, I think the most important thing is finding a line, whether that be through trade, whether that be through moving guys around that work for Nikolai Ehlers. I think that regardless if he's playing with, Pierre-Luc Dubois, if he's playing with Mark Scheifele, I think both of those are options. But you need to find a winger for him. I think that Kyle Connor can play with whoever, in my opinion, as long as they have somewhat of a defensive conscience. That's the main thing that the Scheifele-Connor duo needs. Anyways, this was a kind of a very all over the place show. I do apologize for that. But it was, again, a very, very weird game to break down. All you can really sit here and say is that Connor Hellebuyck is a god, and the Jets absolutely need to do something while he is a Jet still, while he's still playing like this. The Jets are only going to have a truly elite Vezina candidate goalie for 2 more years guaranteed, well, a year and a half guaranteed, maybe longer if they decide to extend him, but this is the year that you got to go for it. Trade for Timo Meier. That's all I have to say. But regardless, thank you all for tuning in. It was a fun show. We're going to be back on, I believe it's on Wednesday. I hope you guys enjoyed your long weekend. It was a good one for myself. Got to enjoy my Monday. But regardless, we'll be back on Wednesday. Liz is going to be hosting. Make sure to follow us at SDPN Sports. Follow myself at NHL Chunky. Check out Liz and mine's. We have our own podcast called Can't Teach Size. Check that out. We're going to be doing some trade deadline stuff soon. Breaking down the previous trades as well as the upcoming ones. But it's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful evening. We'll see you back here on Wednesday. Thank you all for tuning in.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.